Okay, so diving into the next crankbait in the lineup. This one's going to be a special week because I want to give you guys 2 crankbaits because it's more of a depth zone thing, you know, in this scenario. 2 crankbaits in 1 week. In these 2 right here, I've caught a lot of bass on. One has been around for a while, and then the other one has just came out probably a year and a half ago. And so, you know, before I show you the crankbaits, the depth zone I'm talking about is like that 4 foot and less. You know, and there's 2. I mean, you could do a lot of different things, but it's more of like the finesse cranking aspect, I'm going to say, of this. It's 4 foot and less. You can get, you know, and that really just depends on the bank type you're actually fishing. But without further ado, let's just talk about it. One that's become very close, near and dear to my heart over the years, over the last year and a half, caught several fish in events on it, is the OG Tiny. This is probably my favorite crankbait right now. Well, one of the top 2 crankbaits that I personally just love throwing it, and it catches a lot of fish. The thing about this crankbait is it is like, it just gets bites. Okay, you know those crankbaits that you just go and you make casts and you just run down the bank, whatever it is, it just gets bites. And I just don't, I mean, listen, I've talked to my buddy Odd about it. You know, he obviously had this design. He actually had this made, I think he made it like 5 years or maybe 10 years ago. I don't know how long he's been fishing it, but it's really a special bait. And the other reason I like it so much is because, number one, it comes with really good hooks. It comes with those, I think these are number 4 short shank number 4s. So your hookup ratio is really good because the bait overall, profile wise, the fish can get it in its mouth, and it really just, you know, hooks those fish, and really, you know, it hooks them really well. So that's one thing that I am, man, I'm not gonna lie, that sucker gets bites. Now, as far as what rod I'm gonna use him on, you know, it's a circuit board lip. And now, as far as what rod I'm going to use him on, 7 foot medium cranking rod, typically, because it is a lighter bait. You know, I sort of, this bait right here is sort of taking place the Shad Rap for me in a way. I think the Shad, like a number 5, not always, but like if I can throw a bait caster, I'm going to try to throw a bait caster. If I had to pick up the number 5 Shad Rap, I think the Shad Rap is like the finesse crankbait of all finesse crankbaits. You know, you can just generate bites. And if I don't have to throw a spinner rod trying to reel them in, I would much rather not have to do that. Now, as far as size line that I'm going to roll with this guy, it's actually going to be 10-pound line. This is 10-pound fluorocarbon. This is Subex fluorocarbon right here. 6.8 to 1 or 6.2 to 1 gear ratio. I'll throw light. You know, I've thrown down to like, you know, a 5 to 1 gear ratio, depending on how the colder it is. Typically, the slower I slow it down a little bit more, but it runs about 4 feet deep. And as far as the finesse aspect of this bait, it is fairly finessey. Again, smaller profile. Now, as far as the wiggle wobble, let's check this out. Wiggle wobble. He has a little bit there. Okay, I'm gonna give this bait a 3. It's not middle of the road, but it has a good wobble. So that's sort of my mindset behind it. Is that it's profile small. The wobble and the wiggle, it's in the thump is not too much, but it's enough where you have something there, and that's sort of why it's become one of my favorite crankbaits. Now, this is the old school crawdad color that it was in Shad Rap, and you know, you look at it and it's a shad pattern, but it's a crawdad color, and it just freaking catches them. So I mean, that's probably one of my favorite colors in the lineup. Obviously I throw them all, but I keep it very simple. Craw colors, natural crawdad colors. You know, I'll throw like shad patterns, like more flashy shad patterns. But the cool thing about this crankbait is, as well, is it's not just locked into any time of year. It really does well. I would say it really shines in the pre-spawn, and it shines in the fall. So pre-spawn craw colors typically is what I'm throwing a lot of. The water's dirtier, but then in the fall, you know, you throw more natural colors. You know, more of your more natural colors like a live river shad, and that's sort of where, you know, I've thrown it a decent amount to know that I've actually caught a lot of nice fish at Lake Fork in practice on this bait, and it just like you go through behind people and get bites when they weren't necessarily getting bit, and that was something that I was like, okay, this is a good little crankbait. So we're gonna find out how deep it dives, but that is definitely now the second one, the one we're gonna talk about. Now, The second one on the lineup is again, I would say it's Finesse. And the reason I'm going to say it's Finesse is because it is smaller. But the cool thing about this bait is it does, it's a DT4, Rapala DT4. The cool thing about this particular bait is it actually casts really well for the size of profile it is balsa, very similar to Tiny. But the thing is, he does have a lot more thump, okay? Tiny being, I'm giving him a 3. This bait has been, I want to say it's been out for like, as long as I can remember, like 10, 12, been 12, I mean, I want to say 10 to 15 years. Let's just say 10 to 15 years. But it's a crankbait that really does get bit well. It does not have, where Tiny doesn't really have a rattle in him. You know, this guy has a little subtle rattle, okay? Not really loud, not aggressive. Where this bait gets a little bit more, it separates itself from Tiny, is obviously its profile, and it's a little fatter, it's a little stockier, but also the lip and the way it's sort of rounded here. It really, the key here is it's basically, it just has more thump. Now, I'm gonna make a cast real quick here to sort of reference this. I'm actually throwing this on a 7.2. Yeah, that's like, ooh, he thumps. Low key, I'm gonna call him, ooh, it's hard because he thumps really good, and I'm like, I'm gonna say he's actually probably a 6, maybe a 7. Maybe I'm actually close to a 7, okay? So you're talking about a 3 and now a 7. Now, like, the reason why they are similar, 1 is the depth zone, and then 2 is the profile, being that they're fairly small. The only thing is that I would recommend on the DT4 is swapping the hooks out. To me, I mean, you don't have to, but I personally like to upgrade a lot of my hooks to, especially on smaller baits, to like a number 5 short shank hybrid. That's sort of what I recommend throwing on this bait right here. Just like, because then you have just more bite, and the hookup to land ratio goes up when you add a bigger hook. And the thing is, when you have smaller baits, you have smaller hooks, and you typically, it sometimes can be harder to get those bigger fish in. You have some fish that will manhandle you, and you'll lose them just because it's how it is. You just don't have the bite of the hook like you will on a like a number 4 or even like a number 3 or a bigger profile crankbait. So that's sort of the scenario. I do throw this. This is actually 14-pound line because I was cranking a little bit shallower, but it just, man, it's a good crankbait, and it's one that I have in my arsenal. My 4 foot and shallower, these two right here are hard to beat, and we're gonna make a cast. And I'm gonna double check and see how deep these dive on active target. We're gonna find out here in a second. Cool. All right, so time to do a little bit of testing. This is 10-pound line on the Rapala OG Tiny. 10-pound line. Let's see what he's got. Let's throw him out there. It's about a 60 feet, 70 foot cast. I'm starting to see him a little bit right there. I might catch a crappie. It's running about right at 4 feet on a 60 foot long cast. Let's see if we get a little wind him out there a little bit more. So right at 4 foot. Let's see what we got. All right, you got maybe about right close to 5 right there. That's the deepest it is, but it's a consistency aspect. In 2 casts, it's gonna run about right at 4 feet. Consistently, it's gonna run 4 feet. So if you're around that shallower stuff, if I'm cranking this kind of stuff, typically, I'll crank really close up to the bank on this, but then also typically it's like a really good like pea gravel crankbait as well. So that's like, really good transition bank sort of looking stuff right here. But it's really, typical pre-spawn stuff. You just got to figure out the pattern they're sort of on. But that is definitely a battle to do. Now, we got to check out the DT4. Now, to be fair, I'm going to preface this because low-key he might be on 17. Hold up, y'all. Hold on 1 second. I feel like he's on 17. I'm about to cut him off. 17 is not a good range. I'm going to get him on 12, okay? I don't want you guys... Let me get this dude on 12. Okay. Let's get him on 12. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. All right, so we got him on 12. Make cast. DT4 cast right here. DT4. We got. There he is. He's right there about the same. He's right there about. He might run a touch deeper than Tiny. I'm gonna say he runs a touch deeper than Tiny. Normal cast right here. He's out there. I can sort of see. I thought I saw him right there. There it is. Sorry. He's at 5 foot right there. So he's consistently 4.5 though. Ooh, long cast right there. He's consistently 4.5. So there you go. Where's he at? Where he at? Where he at? There he is. There he is. Yep, 4. I'm right now, last one. I think that's about right. The wind's blowing the wrong angle, so I'm trying to give you guys a good rundown. Where, oh where? There he is. Right there. I got to close to about 5.25. So DT4, he runs a little bit deeper than Tiny. There you guys go. A double up. We had 2 crankbaits in this lineup just because of the depth zone. We found out right off the rip, both of them are really good. Finesse cranking is what I would call this finesse cranking for sure. The Tiny just gets bites, a little bit subtler, where the DT4 does, really targets the same depth zone, but it's a little bit more aggressive. So depending on what you're sort of looking for, if you're trying to get that aggressive bite, this might be the crankbait for you. And truthfully, if they're biting this profile, I'm gonna have a DT4 tied on. Because there's times where I might go down that bank and that DT4 gets bites, and then I go back down the same exact bank and I throw, or the Tiny gets bites, and then I go down the exact same bank and the DT4 will get 1 or 2 more bites. Something just a little bit different. So try them out. Let me know what you guys think. If you have thrown either of these baits, do me a favor, drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on them. I always like to hear that. I read a lot of these comments when I have a chance to do so, and I really do appreciate the support. So I'm looking forward to next week and the next crankbait on the list.